I've just been cancelled from a few things. I can't really talk about them right now, but it's happened to me. I think I'm quite moderate. You've been cancelled from lots of things.
Not that many, actually.
Have you not? Well, go on. So what have you been cancelled from? Weren't you kicked off of Patreon? And
yeah, just Patreon, really, is what I've been cancelled from.
And some YouTube monetization. Yeah,
but I don't know if they'd call that cancellation, but demonetization, I suppose, is a form of cancellation.
Yeah, I think so. It incentivizes. Well, I was actually just going to talk to you about Russell Brand. Russell Brand being a key talking point and the hook for a YouTube video, but also somebody who has been accused of doing lots of horrible things. He may well have done them. We don't know. He has that personality. We don't lock people up for having a personality. But was YouTube right to take away his ability to earn on its platform?
Well, I mean, I don't think so. The man hasn't been convicted of anything, to my knowledge. He's had a trial in the court of public opinion. It's been roundly smeared. I mean, for anyone who doesn't know Russell Brand, they can look up his history and find it's quite controversial and extreme, maybe. Maybe he's done some of the things he's been accused of. I don't know. But the point is, he hasn't been put on trial and he hasn't been convicted of anything. So this is just the case of a smear job, really.
I think we do need, and this is a bit of a controversial opinion, but trial by media. Everyone always says it as a bad thing, trial by media. But I think we need the media to hold the elite to account sometimes.
But is Russell Brand really the elite?
Money, lots of money, Hollywood, big money.
Maybe. I mean, the problem with it is there's no boundaries on it, right? So at least when you have something happen to you that involves the courts or the governments, you have constitutional rights. You have a legal system that protects you, that you can use to defend yourself and to attack the people who have wronged you. But what can you actually do about the media? Not much. And the media's job is to try and poison public opinion against you, and that's to make society itself hostile to you, which actually is a really evil thing to do, because that means, I mean, at least if the government is persecuting you, you can find solace away from the state in society itself. You can spend time with your friends, your family, your neighbors, whoever it is, and you can at least, in a sort of Robin Hood style way, get succor from the general public. But what the media's job is to poison the general public against those people, so you can't even find relief there. And so it's to kind of totalize all of society, and that's their game plan. They know that they're doing this, and they do it on purpose. And I think it's actually kind of evil.
Well, their game plan's to make money, isn't it?
Not just. I mean, they obviously want to make money, but I think that it's not a coincidence that they do the things that they do rather than doing other things that they also could do, right? Like, for example, the media generally tends to be very left-wing. Even the right-wing media is weirdly left-wing. Like the Daily Mail will put out really bizarre left-wing stories, like it's schizophrenic or something. And so maybe the Daily Mail is trying to just play both sides, but then you've got a whole suite of the media that is congenitally leftist and will attack people they view as being right-wing in that just perpetual way. And so there's not a lot you can do to hold those people to account, because often they're quite sly with how they frame things as well. And so they will dodge around accusations of libel and things like this. So any legal mechanism you actually had, they're clever enough to get around it. So they'll put, say, something bold and terrible in the headline, like Russell Brand is a rapist, and then underneath that, he's accused of being a rapist. So like if they would take a court, so well, look, it's just an accusation. We're reporting on the accusation. But they know that when people walk past the newsstands, they just see Russell Brand rapist and go away with that impression in their heads because no one reads past the headline.
See, I think I'd have to see that specific headline. I think they would be done for defamation with that.
No, they did it.
Just that? Was that the time? If they did that, they're wrong to do it.
It's not that that's just the thing, but that's in bold and centered. And so they know that people will walk away with that impression because they know people aren't going to sit down, right, I need to study, pull out their spectacles and go through the whole thing in full detail. They know that people don't do this. They know that a very tiny percentage of people actually read the articles and whatnot. But a lot of people will come away with the impression, oh, Russell Brand's a racist. Oh, okay, fair enough. And that just seeps in to the general understanding of the culture. And they know that they're trying to poison the general public against that individual. And so what people really need to ask themselves is, why am I being presented with someone I don't know and being told they're a bad person? Because that happens a lot. Like the Count Dankula is a great example. The general public had no idea who Count Dankula was. Suddenly, he's a Nazi. The word Nazi is associated with him on every newspaper article about him. And so the general public, do I know anything about this guy? Why are they trying to poison me against this guy? That's what I think people would benefit from having just a consciousness of, because at least they would be in some way resisting the attempt to program them.
That, for anyone who doesn't know, Count Dankula is Mark Meechan, the Scottish comedian, comedian who taught his dog to do a Nazi salute
because it was funny.
It is funny. It was funny,
and it was to wind up his wife.
Well, yeah, and so he's someone we're both. I think I'm quite a bit friendly. I'm not friendly with him. I spoke to him 3 years ago. You are, and that's okay. And he got, and that's something that I've been just talking with Helen Pluckrose about actually. That apparently in the UK it's much more common for police to investigate people for saying the wrong thing or whatever than it is in the US.
Oh yeah, they've got First Amendment protections, so the government literally can't punish them for things that they say. Which is just a fantastic improvement on the situation in the UK, where people are persecuted for the things they say all the time. And the thing is, the police have got a natural incentive to desire to police the internet rather than, say, real life. It's actually a lot easier to police the internet. They can do it from a warm and heated office or air-conditioned office. And that's probably why 95% of burglaries go unsolved and thousands of people every year are actually arrested for posting things on social media.
That is mad.
It is mad, isn't it?
Is there anything that someone could say that you think is worthy of at least a police investigation? Sure.
I mean, if someone's, say, admitting to a crime or something, say, if someone says, well, I buried 3 bodies under this house or something, yeah, that's worthy of a police investigation.
Put that in the trailer. I buried 3 at the beginning of this video.
Feel free. But like having an opinion on things or characterizing things shouldn't be something that can be investigated.
You effing N-word gollywog.
As unpleasant as that might be, I don't think that should be a crime, actually.
Should we be able to say the N-word?
Well, yeah.
I think it's bonkers that I'm saying the N-word.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to, and I don't think people should want to. And but there are lots of things that even though you shouldn't say it, should be for the remit of the people who know you to talk to you about, right? So, your mum might say, oh, why are you saying stuff like that? And it might change your opinion and make you more reluctant to say such things. But I really find it despicable that we've decided, no, here's a selection of words and phrases, but what's worse is characterizations that have become criminal. So anything that you would characterize in a particular way that the government deems as being racist or misogynist or homophobic or whatever, that can actually land you in jail. And okay, so now we're committed to a set of ideological demands that insist that we characterize the world through its own lens. And that, I think, is actually the most dangerous and pernicious part of this. Because did you agree to that ideology? Do you agree with that ideology? You are forced to, whether you like it or not, through the strength of law.
Yeah, it's so arbitrary and changeable as well. I mean, I've talked about it before, so apologies to those listening, but I'm a linguist as well. I speak a few languages, so I'm fascinated by how those words became insulting. So now we have identity words. Those are the ones. So N-word, there's a K word and a Y word for Jews. There's F word for gay people. Everyone's now thinking those horrible words you mustn't say. 20 years ago, it was bodily functions and bodily aspects, fuck, shit, ass. I can say those words now. I can't say the C word. I could, but YouTube might punish me because that delves into the identity terrain as well as the...
But then 300 years before that, it was profanity, as in sacred words. Religious words, words about God, the devil, and no one thinks twice about any of those things. But that's where the concept of profanity comes from.
What will be next? So we've gone from religion to body to identity.
I don't know what comes next.
John Matt Water once said to me, just as a random thing it could be, climate, something to do with the climate. So you'd call someone a windmill or something, or like an oil stain.
Possibly. I think it's going to be more about the comfort of the person's mind and mental state. So you already see the R word being stigmatized.
About assault.
No, different R word about people's mental capacity.
Okay, yes.
I don't know.
Slow in French.
Yes, slow in French, yeah, exactly.
Or late.
Yes, that's become a stigmatized word, because I think it really all comes down to the sense of disquietude that a person feels in their own mind. It's about their own sense of mental balance. And I think that's what is ultimately I think they're trying to protect it. But of course, there are consequences to doing that as well.
Going back to trial by media, because I do want to make this point. I understand what you're saying, that of course there are going to be bad actors involved in the media, but without them, I don't think they would have caught Epstein. I don't think we'd know about Savile. So I think we do need that media.
They protected them.
Some did.
Yeah.
And the others uncovered them. The police didn't do much, though.
The police didn't do anything. I actually think it might be a more case of social media that is the reason that Savile and Epstein are known for what they are. Because there was the leak from an American journalist who, between segments on her show, was complaining that she'd compiled a giant dossier on Epstein and it was just shut down by the network. And this she found very frustrating, understandably so, because he's literally a child trafficker. And of course, the Savile stuff, the BBC protected him for decades. And it was well known, apparently, at the BBC. I mean, I never worked at the BBC, so I didn't know anything about it, because all I got was the output from the BBC, which, of course, didn't come out and say, hey, by the way, one of our most famous presenters is a pedo. Yeah. Actually, weirdly, they didn't do that segment on the BBC. So I don't know. I mean, the thing is with the media, it begins with a fairly noble premise, right? Which is, okay, so the Fourth Estate is going to hold the powers that be to account, which sounds like a fantastic idea. You know, I agree. Politicians, people like the governor of the Bank of England, or whoever it is, any person who has a very important position that they're difficult to remove from, there should be public accountability, and the media therefore should serve the public interest. But I don't think anyone can reasonably say the media is actually serving the public interest at this point. It seems that the media, frankly, has been captured by probably being bought off, but also through ideology, to be the defenders of the status quo at the moment. And so anyone who comes up who seems to be challenging the status quo is rendered as some sort of enemy of the state. And so the media isn't really acting in the best interest of the general public, but they are acting in the best interest of, I guess, what you could term the managerial elite, that think that actually everything should be controlled by some people remotely who know how things should be, which is pretty awful, I think.
One thing you said is that the media is very left wing. I'm hearing people listening saying, "Oh, hang on, Murdoch owns so much of it," and I know you said Daily Mail is a bit schizophrenic, but it's not a left wing.
No, it's not. It's not a left wing institution itself, but the Daily Mail is one paper.
The Sun, Fox News.
That's three.
So relatively, you'd say there's
far more. There's far more on the
left,
and it's normal. It's just the way the media has been for a long time. It's hard to think of any impactful. I mean, the BBC recently had to do a reorganization within their own ranks because they admitted their own liberal bias, and it was like, okay, why would they have to do that? The BBC meant to be the bastion of neutrality in the country. It's like, yeah, actually, we're really liberal, and we need to change that. And if we don't change that, we're going to continue to alienate ourselves from the British public, who actually aren't particularly liberal, who are actually really quite far right in a lot of ways. But those people don't get to have any representation. I mean, it's kind of crazy. Like, if you look at BBC Question Time, like, it's always the same. It's 3 liberals and 1 milquetoast conservative.
And Jimmy Carr.
And well, occasionally Jimmy Carr. Yeah, but whenever it's a political slate, it's always like a Guardian journalist, the Green Party member, and then someone who writes for the Telegraph. And it's like, the Telegraph, that's the right now, is it? That's the entire representation right wing thought in Britain gets. And it's just very frustrating.
I get really wound up, especially, I talked about cancellations, and there's things I can't yet talk about. There's a few things have happened recently.
Yeah.
And you end up talking to people who I do think are well-meaning, a lot of these people, but they live in a world of artists and art curators and book publishers, and like this, it is so far removed from society. So when you say, the average person is nothing like these people.
Yeah.
The things I hear them say behind closed doors about, we should push this book because I know that with the marketing team have said the public don't want it, but we should push it anyway because I believe in this ideological thing about this particular trans black person who's a whatever.
Yeah.
And you want to throttle these people because you want to say, like, I know you mean well, because I think it comes from a well-meaning thing, but I want to say, look, hang on, do you realize that's what the world thinks of you? They see you as going, we know what's right for you.
Yeah. And the thing is as well, they never spend any time interrogating why they think the things that are good, right? Why do you believe that pushing this book is actually a good thing? And they'll give you a very shallow answer, something along the lines of representation. And it's like, okay, well, let's talk about representation. Where exactly should the average British person feel represented in, say, the BBC?
Well, I wasn't allowed on. I don't know if you know my backstory. So I used to make sort of pseudo Louis Theroux kind of stuff, and then got told by every production company in the UK, about 50 of them I went to, every single one said, we can't have you on screen anymore. So we'll take your ideas.
Why not?
I think you know.
I think I do know,
Yeah, they said, we've take your ideas, but we want a minority on screen to do it. And I was like, what? So it will look like they did the journalism. And I learned 5 languages to be able to go around the world and do it. And I was like, and they were like, yeah, but we'll get a translator. So I was like, right. So, anyway, that's why that was BBC Channel 4. And so I know about that. Bloody hell.
Doesn't seem very just, does it?
No. And it there was that. Have you seen that? I guess it was Colin Wright, I think, the Swipe Right Twitter. And Elon Musk recently retweeted it of like, here's me on the center left and here's the far left person, my comrade or whatever. And here's the right. And then gradually that person on the far left shouting, you're a bigot. And then here's me moving to the right. And I feel that. I felt that happen. I felt that movement of like, oh, I'm not allowed in this tribe anymore.
That happened to me too.
Yeah. Well, so what happened to you?
Well, just the same thing. I took objection to the way that the left... I always thought of myself as being left-wing, but I didn't know much about left-wing philosophy at the time. And the more I looked into it, the more I realized, oh, I'm not left-wing. And actually, these people are crazy. And the world they're trying to bring into existence is probably going to be terrible. And so I think they should be stopped.
It has some nice ideas in the left, sort of share the wealth.
Wealth is always shared. Like, that's not their idea. Like kings used to literally give out money after looting a city to their nobles to keep the nobles happy. Like,
but did the nobles then give it to the peasants?
They've got no choice. They've got to pay the peasants for the labor. Otherwise they won't do it. So wealth has always circulated. Like, this isn't some sort of new innovation that the left have come up with. The left's innovation is to make it so that we'll have the same wealth. They want us to all ultimately be the same. And that's actually a really evil prospect, if you think about it, because that means that someone who does no work at all is entitled to exactly what I have, exactly what you have, which is not fair.
See, I like Hanlon's razor, and maybe to the point of being naive, but I'm just sticking to it. The idea that it's not necessarily out of evil, but maybe stupidity. I mean, you said yourself you were quite left-wing.
It's not even evil. It is evil, but it's not that the people are evil. It's that they think this sounds like a nice ideal.
Yes.
It's not a nice ideal, actually. It's actually the end of what they claim to be to most value, which is diversity. Diversity comes from inequality, because equality means sameness. And if we're all the same, then there is no diversity. And this is the problem with liberalism. It is a great homogenizing force that seeks to turn everything into the same thing. And they don't know when to stop.